Hi everyone, so today we're going to look at doing a prune on this rose just to try and rejuvenate it a little bit, just to try and reinvigorate the rose. It's quite an old plant. It's actually dug up out of another garden and planted into this pot, just trying to rescue it and trying to keep it going. I have taken a couple of cuttings from this just to be on the safe side, because if the original plant fails and dies, then I will still have a younger plant to replace it. Um, this is actually the second year that I'll be pruning this plant. You can see most of the growth is around the top, probably about 4, maybe 5 foot high off the floor. And then as you look further down the plant, there's a lot of these older woody stems which are not as vigorous as they once were, and the plant has been allowed to grow to quite a good height, um, rather than keeping it shorter to the ground. You can actually see some of these canes towards the top are looking a little bit old and worn out and tired. They've almost got like a yellowish look rather than green. You can see their slightly newer shoots are green, and then the shoots lower down are starting to look a little bit yellow there. There's another one just there that's starting to look a little bit yellow compared to the newer shoots, which are green. So last year I did start to rejuvenate the rose, and I would generally recommend you do this in stages, probably over 2 or 3 years really. So if we look further down at the base, you can see just here I have cut one of the old stems back, and just here I've cut one of the larger stems back, which was looking quite a lot like this one. So I've cut that right back at the base. What actually happened last year as a result of that, you can see if I go right in close there, you can see a whole brand new stem. That's all grown in 1 year, all the way up to here. You can see how much healthier that looks than the bits that I showed you earlier on, and indeed the stems behind it as well. That's actually come from where I removed the old stem. It's actually grown out the side of that. And that would have been because there's a dormant bud there waiting to break. It's also thrown up a new basil shoot. That came up last year. All of that is 1 year's growth. And it's thrown up another one from that side. That one's come up to here. So you can see by removing the older growth, it's stimulating the plant to make new growth from lower down. But I would really do this over 2 or 3 years, because the old parts still do flower. So it's nice to have the flowers, but it also doesn't stress the plant out quite so much. So this year I'm going to try and remove possibly another one of the larger stems, just to see if that makes a lot of difference. It should do. It should allow more stems to come up from the base like that, as it has done this year. So I'll just show you, I'll just remove that and then come back and show you what I've actually removed. So that's the canopy as it is, about 5 foot. So we're going to go in and remove probably one of these, and yeah, see what happens. So what I'm going to be using to do this is pruning saw. So it's just a folding pruning saw like that. These are really good for the older, tougher stems like these, which we're going to be cutting through. So I'm just going to have a little look at the plant and just see what might be best to remove, because we don't want to remove too much, but then we do obviously want to be removing some of the older growth so that it's starting to grow back. And what I'm actually going to do, I'll just show you a bit more close up. So that stem, the older stem there, comes up here. You can see that bit's died off, and this is the one that's got the yellowing stems on it, and the 2 or 3 new shoots are going over to that side of the plant. And if I actually look at this older stem here and follow it all the way up, it's a little bit tricky to show you with the camera, but this one to the left, here, you follow that one all the way up, it's actually throwing out a new shoot there, and I can spot another one over to the other side, and that growth over that side doesn't look too bad. So what I'm going to do is remove the piece on the right hand side, because that will give a better balance to the plant whilst we're waiting for new stems to grow up from the bottom, as most of that new growth is over to the right side as we're looking at it on the screen. It will balance the plant a little bit more whilst we're going through the rejuvenation process. I'm just going to saw right at the bottom, so we need to remove some of the leaves from around the base so that we can get right at the bottom of the plant and cut off the older stem as cleanly as we can at the bottom. So I'm just going to cut the stem right at the bottom with the pruning saw. I'm using my right hand to support the growth that's at the top, because what we don't want to happen is for that to fall away halfway through the cut, as it will damage the area where you're cutting. It will tear away from the plant and won't give a clean cut. And what we want is a nice clean cut at the bottom so we don't get any diseases entering the plant. So that's the stem removed there. And as you can see already, it's let a lot of light into the plant, a lot of air into the plant, but the plant still looks fairly balanced at the moment, and should still look quite good in the summer. So I'll just show you a close up here of the cut stem at the base. So you can see here I've removed the old cane right down to the base, a nice clean cut. The shape of the plant is still good, it's slightly narrower, but the new growth here on the right hand side can take over from the cane that I've just removed. The older stems on the left hand side still look okay. I'll probably come back next year and remove more of the older growth, dependent on how things go. Possibly be looking at the older shoots. And probably be looking at this shoot here, possibly to remove it above this side shoot on the left, or possibly taking it right back down to the base. And what I'll do now is just show you how I'll prune the rest of the plant to create a better shape so that we still have some nice flowers this year. So the other thing we need to do with this rose is just prune it really for shape going into the next season, because we are looking to keep it flowering whilst we're rejuvenating the rose. We're going to prune the stems so that it flowers nicely for next year as well. So the removing the older stem is part of rejuvenating it, but obviously, like I say, we want to make it look good for the next year as well. Now, this is a hybrid tea rose, so each stem has one flower. Now, because it is a hybrid tea, what you would normally do is prune the whole plant down to about 6 to 8 inches from the ground. Obviously, with us wanting to rejuvenate the rose, we're not going to do that because it has been allowed to grow to a taller height. So if we prune everything back to that height, the rose might not recover, because it will be quite a shock to take off all this growth and leave it just down there with the little stumps at the bottom. So that's why that's the point of doing the rejuvenation prune, is to take the height down, the overall height of the plant down slowly, so that we don't shock it. But we also want to make it look nice for next year, as I say. So what we're going to do, instead of taking the whole plant down to 6 to 8 inches, we're just going to take some of these stems back to some of, say, 1 or 2 buds. So like, for example, here, we'll probably leave that alone as it is. And then these stems here, where you can see a main stem, and you've got 1, 2, and 3 coming off. What we'll do is we'll take that one to there, we'll take that one to there, and we'll take that one to there. We're not going to be worrying about the buds facing inwards or outwards. We just want a couple of buds on there so we get some nice flowers. So we've got some nice short little spares with a couple of buds left that will hopefully flower. If I show you again on here, we'll probably take this one back to here, where you can see there's 1 bud there. So we'll take that one back, and we'll also take that one back to there, and then that one back to there. That then leaves us with some nice stubs, as I say, with some nice spares that will flower again. So we're going to go over the whole plant and do that, and then I'll show you at the end what the effect is. So as you can see, we've removed quite a lot of growth. We've left stubs or spares all over the existing growth that have buds showing that should grow this year. We've removed a lot of the growth but kept a good shape to the plant, and as you can see here, there's new buds showing there on the existing growth, new shoots. They might come off next year as that is coming from some of the older wood, but for this year we'll leave them just to give a nice shape to the plant. They will probably come off next year when we remove the rest of the older growth. So we've reduced the overall height of the plant from about 5 foot probably down to 2 foot for this one, and probably 2.5 foot here, maybe 3.5 foot for this stem here. So as I say, we've taken the stems right back, and it's almost doing the 6 to 8 inch prune that you would normally do with a hybrid tea rose, but you're almost doing it just back to the old wood. So you're leaving those spares or stubs that are probably around 3 or 4 inches, some of them more, just so that we still get some flowers next year and we do keep a nice shape to the rose. So it's just cutting those back, as I said, to the woody growth, to allow that to happen. And we'll just prune the old wood out in stages, as I've said, over probably 3 years now. This is the second year I've pruned this rose like this. Probably one more year and we'll remove the rest of the old growth, but we'll perhaps come back in summer and just see how the plant is looking. That's how to rejuvenate an older rose. This is the second year I've been dealing with this plant, and it's worth a try if the alternative is to lose the plant completely. You might as well give it a go and see how the plant responds. As you can see, there's some good basil canes there that have come up from last year's pruning. So hopefully this year's pruning will mean that we'll get a couple more basil shoots coming up. That's the piece that I've removed there this year, and hopefully that will stimulate the new growth and the new basil canes and create an overall healthier plant. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you have. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I'll try and respond.